I'm in my late 20s dating a woman in her late 20s. We've been together about 6 months, and I want to start to talk about long-term plans, potentially moving in together, marriage, and kids someday. About 7 years ago, my parents passed away, and since I was an only child, I inherited their house. It's fully paid off. I rent out the upstairs currently and live in the basement after I renovated it to be its own separate unit. Because of their life insurance and other assets, I'm financially secure and technically don't need to work. I have a job, but it's not like I make 6 figures or anything. The house is my childhood home and has emotional value to me. I've already decided I will never add anyone to the deed, even if I get married. If I have kids, I would structure things so the house passes directly to them, I guess through a trust. Same thing with the inheritance money. I'm fine using income or growth from it to build a life together, but the core inherited assets themselves would always remain legally separate. If I ever get married, a prenup would be mandatory for me. It wouldn't just cover the house, but also clearly define that my inheritance remains separate property. This isn't about assuming divorce or not loving someone fully. It's about protecting what my parents left me and making sure it ultimately benefits my children. I have a friend that ended up not getting anything from their mother when she died because she left everything to her second husband, and I refused to even let that be an option if I have children. I haven't brought this up yet because we haven't been dating that long, but I don't want to waste her time as we get more serious if this is unacceptable to her. I definitely don't want to profit off her if we move in together. If we moved into my place, she would never have to pay anything to maintenance or property tax, only utilities and groceries. And if that seemed weird for her, I'd be happy to move into a separate place together and split costs. I don't want to have this be viewed as me being controlling or worried. It'll sound like I'm planning for failure before we're even engaged. How would you approach this conversation? And if you were in her position, would you want to know this sooner rather than later? I do not need advice on how to structure a prenup. She will have her own lawyer should she agree to a prenup. I will pay for this with a smile on my face. I am not forcing her to forever live in this home. We can live anywhere. She just won't have equity in this one home. I am not counting down the days until I can make her become a homeless widow. Things would be structured so she wouldn't have to leave my home when I die. She would be very well taken care of once we actually come to an agreement on prenup terms. I am a huge believer in life insurance. I have my own retirement accounts she will get access to. Sorry if this sounds like I'm condescending, but apparently you need to explicitly state you don't relish the chance to be a villain from a Dickens novel. Thank you for any advice. Willoughby, in my opinion, I guess all of this depends on the person, but if it was me, yeah, I'd rather have this conversation the sooner the better. It is a very important conversation to have, just like, do you want kids? If so, how many? Also about financial responsibility. All of these things that a couple should talk about before committing to a life together. And I like your approach. It's absolutely pragmatic. And that's how I would do it. I just present it as matter of fact. I would sit down, maybe over dinner, and have this conversation with her. If you love her, you tell her you love her and that you see your life with her, but that you have these things that you would like in place before you move forward, and that you guys need to be on the same page in order for you to do that. If she agrees with no hesitation and she's absolutely on board, that's a good thing. If she doesn't agree, then it's also a good thing because then you know that you're not going to waste your time anymore and you can both move your own ways. And what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section, and now let's check out the community comments. Shelby the Turd says, the thing with prenups is you can structure it where both parties are protected. Should you have a prenup with your girlfriend prior to marriage, you could also include conditions, such if she contributes financially to the home, that she should be compensated and that future assets would be split. I would talk to a lawyer regarding options. It makes financial sense what you want to do. Wishbone's Evil Twin says, before a prenup conversation, have you guys discussed what you want for the future in more general terms? Does she want to stay in your current community permanently? Does she want kids and marriage? What are her goals in the next 5 years? I also think you need to consider from a relationship perspective is that if you die, your wife of say 20 years could now lose what has become her family home with no financial gain if her adult children inherit it and sell or move in. That's very long-term thinking, but it would be one of my several concerns if I was her. EMCCM says, premarital assets and inheritance are generally not commingled. A prenup is to protect both parties. If you marry, what claim will kids from that marriage have on the home? What else are you planning to include in the prenup? If you are earning less than you could because you are living off your parents' asset, you'll be contributing less to the marriage. A sensible lawyer for your future wife would take this into account. What if you just decide to stop working? A prenup in this scenario would actually protect her more than you. She'd probably insist on it herself. A partner who chooses to be underemployed while keeping the assets that allow him to remain underemployed out of the family pot is not a desirable husband and father. You may want to give this some consideration. From a future wife and mother's perspective, they're better off with someone who plans to work and build than someone who already has theirs and plans to coast. Big Green Billy Goat says, you could do something like an A-B trust. If she dies first, the house goes to you, then to your kids. If you die first, she keeps the house until she passes, it stays in the trust, and it passes to your children when she dies. And Dopey responds, thanks for the suggestion. I'd never want to leave her homeless, so that's probably a good option. Deleted says, I think that's ridiculous. If you die and she stays to raise your kids, she now has to move out of her lifelong home? I'm all for things going to the kids, but it's reasonably disrespectful to skip over your spouse. I do think it's fair to not add her now. Sure, especially if you don't expect her to pay for it, but I'd rethink not passing it to her upon death. And Cucumber Dry 8646 says, scenario, you've been married to this woman for 30, 40, 50 years, have children, maybe even grandchildren, and you pass away. Where does your wife go? What happens to her if the home she lives in is passed over her head to your adult children? Okay, well, I think the community raised some very important and interesting points for OP to think about. So now, let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. First, thank you to the minority of people who actually read the post and responded to the question I asked. A few of you gave thoughtful, practical advice about framing and timing, and that genuinely helped. That said, most of the comments were unhelpful at best or highlighted a pretty clear misunderstanding of the basic premise of the post at worst. A surprising number of responses invented scenarios I had already explicitly addressed. For an actual update, she brought up moving in together first a couple of weeks after the original post. We were talking about her lease being up in a few months, and she asked whether I'd thought about us living together. That naturally opened the door to the bigger long-term conversation. I told her I had been thinking about it too, and that before we made any major decisions, I wanted to be transparent about something important regarding my house and inheritance. I framed it not as planning for divorce, but as ensuring long-term success for future kids. I explained clearly, the house will always remain solely in my name. The inherited principal will remain separate property. If I ever get married, a prenup would be mandatory. I would ensure my partner is protected, life insurance, retirement accounts, etc. But the core inherited assets would stay legally separate. Then I waited for the dramatic fallout many commenters seemed convinced was inevitable. She responded, that makes complete sense. She said she would think it was irresponsible not to protect inherited assets. She said it made sense I would want it confirmed in writing that she was aware of these conditions beforehand to remove any confusion or contention later on. She appreciated that I had thought through it carefully and had clear values around it. When I told her she would absolutely have her own independent lawyer paid for by me to review any agreement, she said that's exactly how it should be handled. She was also genuinely excited when she realized how financially secure I am. Not in a weird way, just that it made her feel stable and optimistic about building a future with someone who plans ahead. She especially appreciated that while I made it clear that house itself is off limits, I was completely willing to move if shared property equity was important to her. She's never even seen the upper levels since it's currently rented out. If we ever bought a different home together, that would be joint. The inherited house is the only thing that stays separate. And yes, I showed her the original post. Her main takeaway was asking why over half of people couldn't understand that the house was off limits, while it was clearly stated that I was willing to move to another house if property equity was important to her. She was genuinely baffled at how many responses ignored that basic detail. She also didn't understand why so many people kept explaining what a prenup was when that was completely unrelated to the post. As for my apparent villain arc, if living together goes well and we get married, somehow we will have to survive me being underemployed and only working 40 hours a week, splitting the tragic pittance of my above median salary, rental income, and interests or dividends, while she saves nearly $30,000 a year that she previously spent on rent. All while I cackle with glee, knowing I set it up so she is out on the streets the second I die. I'll be sure to tell the next homeless person I meet that they're lucky they don't have to deal with real financial insecurity like she does. The only painful thing is now that she fully understands my financial situation, she truly questions why I voluntarily drive a 10-year-old Prius. Apparently, financial security does not excuse that level of commitment to fuel efficiency. All sarcasm aside, the conversation made us closer. It forced us to talk seriously about long-term values, money philosophy, and what marriage actually means to each of us. I'm glad I didn't avoid it because of worst-case predictions from strangers online. For anyone in a similar position, have the conversation sooner rather than later. How you frame it matters far more than the fact that you want a prenup. Don't be selfish and only discuss how this will protect you. And anyone who insists you split equity with someone who contributed nothing is an idiot. Well, OP, good on the both of you for having this conversation in a non-passionate way and just matter of fact, like apparently you guys did. Now all the cards are on the table and you both are on the same page. So here's wishing you both the best. Take care, OP, and thanks for sharing. And now let's move on to the next post that also has an update. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole, and it's by user SpareAir9406. Am I the a-hole for telling my girlfriend I'd rather see her the next day instead of being on standby all evening? My girlfriend, 22 female, and I, 23 male, had planned her coming over after I got off work yesterday. Then yesterday morning, she texted saying she was going to hang out with her study group first and would come later at some point in the evening. She didn't give a clear time and wrote that I should have some time off after work first anyway, which rubbed me the wrong way a bit because it feels like she was deciding what was best for me while also changing the plan. What bothered me isn't that she had other plans first, it's more that I'd be getting off work and then just sitting in standby mode, not knowing if she'd come at 7, 9 or even later, and then maybe only spend an hour or two together. At that point, I decided I'd rather just have the whole evening to myself and do my own thing, as I had some things to get done anyway. So I replied pretty softly and basically said it was fine, but that I had some things to do anyway and maybe it was better if we just saw each other today instead. She replied saying that wasn't what she wrote, but that we could do that. I had a great evening, got around to pick up some things and fix a headlight on my car and some other minor stuff. Ordered some Mexican food and just chilled a bit. I still haven't heard anything from her since yesterday morning. Bit funny because we're supposed to attend my brother's 18th birthday family celebration today at 1 p.m. and it's now 9 a.m. I can tell she's been out partying with her friends from university or at least very late awake due to her being online at 3 a.m. Anyway, my mom is also bombing my phone because my girlfriend hasn't given me an ingredient list for the vegan lasagna we were supposed to make for her, since she's a pescatarian. so she'd actually have something to eat. Am I the a-hole? No, OP, you're not the a-hole at all, and honestly, at this point, your girlfriend's behaving like a child and an annoying one at that, which are just red flags. She clearly has no respect for you, or even less for your mom. I mean, you guys are going out of your way to make special food for her that she requires so she can have something to eat, but she hasn't actually helped you out in any case. I would say, you know what? I'm gonna go alone to my brother's birthday because I'm now single. Have a good day. Bye. And that's it. You save your mom the hassle of having to make that lasagna, and you get to enjoy your time off. And what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section. And now let's check out the community comments. Reasonable Push 9786 says, I think she is taking you a bit for granted. It is also disrespectful to your mother to not at the very least give her the ingredients for her special foods well in advance instead of assuming the whole world is on standby mode waiting for her to furnish information. Frankly, at this late stage, I wouldn't bother making any special food for her. Text her once with the time you are leaving, and if she doesn't respond, go without her. Don't accept this level of disrespect. Not towards you or towards your family. Deleted says, whoa dude, your girlfriend is pretty self-absorbed. It's clear that she doesn't respect you. That's bad enough to reconsider the relationship, but it's also clear that she doesn't respect your mom via your mom's time. That is a double doozy. The only questions now are, what are you going to do about it? If it were me, I would nope out of this relationship. It won't get better. Little Bit Funny 21 says, your girlfriend sounds disrespectful as F. Does she think she's the main character and the rest of the world waits around for her to be ready for them? It's 4 hours before the party and she hasn't given your mom information needed to make your girlfriend a special dish? And Gregos text says, not the a-hole. I'd say don't borrow trouble. So far, all is fine as far as you know. She did make an inconsistent ask, and that is a clear yellow flag to watch for going forward. But you did not just roll over. The other yellow flag, depending on context, was that she didn't invite you to join last night. They are adding up. About the only thing I'd do is ask mom when she needs the recipe. Then, based on the answer, I'd send her a text reminding her that if she wants vegetarian lasagna, she needs to send it by then. Or if mom says it's too late or would be a major inconvenience, tell her that she should not expect to have it. Assume the 1 p.m. date is on, don't press it, and if she no-shows, it's her standing you up. Then you two have a problem and you should start managing your exit. Well, the community agrees that OP is not the a-hole, so now let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. She showed up on time, albeit unannounced. We didn't make any food for her, but she brought a salad for herself to eat. My mom mentioned the lasagna, and she responded along the lines of, well, yeah, I wasn't here last night anyway, so I couldn't make it myself. Pretty early on, she said she had been out partying until late at night, that it had gone really well, and that she had enjoyed herself a lot. But she was a bit hungover and tired, and that was all she had to say about yesterday. At that point, I chose not to focus on her for the rest of the day, but rather on my family and my brother. I chose to spend my energy on them, talking with them and catching up with my family from far away. I could feel her trying to catch my attention throughout the day, but I mostly minded my own business, acknowledging her from time to time. During dinner, she seemed upset at one point and went to the toilet for 30 minutes, coming back looking a bit better but still not happy. Anyway, she looked tired as hell the whole day and even started nodding off at the table at times. Things ended at 7:30 in the evening, and by 8, back at my place, she was asleep. I haven't said anything whatsoever, but I'm pretty damn disappointed in her right now. I don't know what time she'll leave tomorrow. All I know is that I'm out the door at 9 a.m. to go work out with my friends. Then we'll see from there. But I think I'm going to start thinking things over a bit and create some distance. Well, OP, if that's the plan, I honestly wouldn't wait too long. You don't want to get reeled back in or trying to stretch this thing. It's torturous. Just be done with it. Anyways, here's wishing you the best, OP. Thanks for sharing and take care. And now let's finish this video with a mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Petty Revenge and it's by user SirVegeta69. Arizona Petty. I have a co-worker. We saw on the Arizona tea site that they sell flavors that you can't buy in store. 12 pack for $24. We agreed to split it 50-50. She Venmoed me $12 last night when I got home to order it. I saw there was a $10 flat rate for shipping, so after tax it was $36 and some odd change. I texted her back and she didn't respond, so I ordered it. This morning, after like 9 hours, she said, "Never mind, give her the money back." So I told her I can do that or just give her 5 instead of 6 so she could still try the flavor, and I'll take the bigger financial hit of $24 for 7 cans and her still $12 but for 5 cans. She refused, stating she wanted 6 still for 12, leaving me with the same number of cans as her but for $24. So I sent her money back because I refuse to negotiate with tea terrorists like it's the Boston Tea Party. She would have only been paying like $2.40 per can, while me $3.40. I saw it as, if I'm gonna take the bigger hit, I'm gonna get me at least an extra can. So now my petty ass is gonna use them as my work drink and drink them in front of her. She wants one, she's gonna pay $3.40 a can, especially since she called me a scammer earlier that day cause I hustled Arizona and ramen in Job Corp. Lol. Oh yes, OP, that is petty and well deserved. You enjoy those Arizona teas in front of her. Thanks for sharing, OP. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.